Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 331. We are covering movies for the week of Friday, February 3rd, 2026. That is we, meaning me, Greg Trzebowski, Bruce Berkey, and of course, Eric Holmes. We have a bunch of movies covering this week. Movies include The Mortuary Assistant, By Design, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, I was going to say By Design again, and Sweetness. That's a movie that I saw, and unfortunately, I was not able to get Eric and Bruce links to this really cool film. I'll be talking about that movie as well. I'm looking right now. Are there any other movies that we missed out on? No, that's it. Eric, how have you been, man? You've been really busy doing interviews last week, just slammed with stuff.
Yeah, watching a bunch of movies, doing a bunch of interviews. I got a bunch of good ones coming up, both movies and interviews. So those will be fun.
Are there any Oh, I forgot. Sorry, Eric. The one movie I forgot from the list is Hunting Jessica Brok. So again, let me start from the top. Movies covered talk. Let me start from the top. This is movies coming out Friday, February 13th, 2026. They are number 1, The Mortuary Assistant. Number 2, By Design. Number 3, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Number 4, Hunting Jessica Brok. And Sweetness. One of the movies I actually said, Eric, you need to see Hunting Jessica Brok. It's a banger. We're going to see what Eric thinks of Hunting Jessica Brok. If he agrees, if this 134-minute movie is a banger. I'm a little bit nervous because I threw my hand in the ring and I said, Eric, you have to see it. I honestly, as the days grew on, and Eric was covering so much stuff, I was thinking maybe Eric was not going to watch the movie because he has so many things to do this week with interviews and movies. And at the last minute, I saw he put his name on the Google Doc and said, Eric, covered Hunting Jessica Brok. So I'm excited to actually cover the movie with you, Eric. And maybe we'll go over some spoilers as well sorry, Eric, I didn't get to By Design, but we will maybe talk spoilers for the Mortuary Assistant. Oh, what, Eric?
Oh, that you didn't get to By Design. That's
sad.
Unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. I'm trying to see.
I would need someone to help me with that and kind of hold my hand through the review because that was a weird one. It was a weird one.
Try your best, Eric, and then eventually I'll try to catch up. That's one of these things where I apologize. I did not get to By Design. I promised Eric I would. And yes, yet again, I was not true to my word. What kind of human am I? I'm not very good. Good luck, have fun, don't die. Let's say inside. I know this is inside baseball. Bruce was able to see it. Unfortunately, the link for this movie is Sam Rockwell. It's directed by Gore Verbinski. Eric and I think Eric didn't even get a screener link. I got a screener link, but it closed on February 9th. The window closed. I did not get to this movie on time. That's a lot of stuff for you guys to handle. But most importantly, we want to make sure that you guys will have some good movies, maybe some under the radar movies to watch this weekend, the weekend starting Friday, February 13th. Where do you want to start? Oh, before you want to start, we start off on the CinemAddicts featured movies, Eric. Can we talk about Patreon for the month of February? We have a whole bunch of picks.
What? I'll even get my dice ready. But
before you get your dice ready, first off, for the Patreon, I actually posted on the CinemAddicts Facebook group and also on our Patreon. We need 3 movies for this month. We need 2 of them for the main Patreon bonus episode that we do every month for our patrons. And then we need 1 for an assigned pick later this month for not just our Patreon members, for people who listen to CinemAddicts. We're covering the year, I believe, 1987, Eric? 1987 for this month on Patreon. The movies are from 1 through 16. There's 16 chances. Movies include Dudes, Broadcast News, The Hidden, Moonstruck, 3 O'Clock High, Swimming to Cambodia, Near Dark, Ganda, Christine. I haven't seen Christine yet. A Prayer for the Dying. I've always wanted to see that movie. Evil Dead 2. I can't believe I haven't seen that movie. There was a movie called Anguish. RoboCop, Wicked City, Delirium Photo of Gioa? I mispronounced that name and I apologize. And Cyclone. We want to also thank either our patrons or CinemAddicts Facebook group members, maybe both. Thank you to Brian O'Connell, Tracy Stonefield Peters, Ken Cunningham, Joseph Bridges, and Peter Abeyta for contributing to these 16 movies that Eric is going to choose 3 from. Eric, roll the dice.
All right, we got 4, which is Moonstruck.
Moonstruck from Peter Abeyta, first pick.
And next we got 15, which is Delirium, photo of...
Oh, wow. Whatever that is. Ken Cunningham, thank you for that.
Yep. And then the third one?
Mm-hmm.
1, Dudes.
Dude. Thank you, Brian O'Connell. This is going to be
that was the one I was hoping for. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to roll 1. 1s and 20s are impossible.
I'm trying to think who starred in Dudes. I'm thinking maybe that seems like either John Cusack or John Cryer movie. I don't know. We'll look up later who Dudes are. But again, the movies are Dudes, Moonstruck, and Delirium Photo of Gio, however you pronounce it. Thanks again to all of these participants. And yeah, I'm excited for this month of Patreon. And hopefully Bruce Parkey likes these selections as well. Now let's start off with our featured movies this week. I'm not going to bury the lead. I said to Eric, or I stated, or I pleaded to Eric, I was saying Hunting Jessica Brok, which opens in theaters February 13th, is a banger of a film. What makes it a banger? It's 134 minutes, wall-to-wall, tense action, and it centers on Jessica Brok, played by Danica Jones. She's a former Black Ops soldier. She takes part in a mission that goes south immediately. The first maybe 10 to 15 minutes focuses on this failed mission. It leaves possibly most of her crew, most of her fellow colleagues killed in this mission, but she also killed one of the brothers of this ruthless crime lord. This ruthless crime lord is played by Richard Lukunku. And what happens is Jessica Brok, after killing that brother, that crime lord, that warlord vows to hunt down and kill Jessica Brok. What happens is it cuts to 12 years later after the first act. 12 years later, Jessica Brok what is she doing? She is handling some kind of not animal sanctuary. She's helping animals. But what happens is she's now has a daughter, and she is tracked down and found by this ruthless warlord. And lo and behold, one of her former colleagues, who she thought was dead almost 11 to 12 years ago, is actually alive and working for this very, very bad man. And these people are out to hunt down and kill Jessica Brok. Running at 134 minutes, the movie also stars Anthony Oseyemi, Clyde Burning, and it's directed by Alistair Orr. 134 minutes, Eric. Was it too much of a slog? Was it exciting? What was it for you?
It wasn't a slog. It was shot incredibly well. Like the look of it was really good. The action scenes were done well. There were some bits where I don't think that the screenwriter, or it was either the screenwriter or the director changing things on the fly, didn't quite understand how physics works sometimes. For instance, there's a part where Jessica hits a tripwire and a bomb blows her back like 12 feet, but she's fine. Yet she sets up a trap to get someone else to walk over the other tripwire, and it kills them somehow. There's a part where, this part drove me nuts. So she takes a clip out of the gun and shows that the clip's empty. And then she shows her wrecking the gun, and another bullet's entering the chamber. There's no clip in if the bullet's already in there. First of all, if there's no clip, there's no bullet. So if you're racking it, that bullet's not getting in the chamber at all, because there's nothing to put in the chamber. So if the bullet's already there, you're pulling out, the bullet's shooting out. And then, so it just showed that the filmmakers have zero knowledge of how guns work. Especially if Jessica's running away and they shoot at her, just know they'll use their entire clip shooting at her. They never miss, no matter how close they are. Yeah, I really like the I am the crossbow guy. He didn't never say that. Just in my head he did.
Yeah, there's a crossbow person.
Him and Jessica are like the only people that ever hit anyone with any sort of weapon. No, that's not true. Some bad guys got hit towards the end. But yeah, like the bad guys in this all had kind of stormtrooper accuracy in this movie.
That's true. Yeah.
There's a a bunch of really cool. There's one guy that Jessica clipped him in the head, and his head's just gone. That looked cool. I mean, I'm torn on this because there's some stuff in this is they're really well done and really cool as hell, and then there's other stuff in this that's just completely asinine. Probably acid 10 for some of it, but it was just. I don't think they thought through a lot of the physics in a lot of this, or it's like that screenplay physics where you're writing it and then it makes sense in your head, but then like when you try to read the scenes again and kind of work it out, it's, oh wait, you know what? Yeah, this doesn't work. This is physically impossible, or this is dumb, or this is not how guns work, or whatever the case is. In spite of it being stupid, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Right? It's such a fun movie. I think all of that stuff is very logical, but we're in sort of like Dominique, a fantastical territory.
Dominique knows how weapons work, though. It knows that if you're 5 feet behind someone, you're not going to miss them with an automatic weapon. It knows that, and also Dominique didn't have to do the fake. Like if I'm chasing you, shooting at you, and then I keep missing you, and then I finally, like, you trip or something, and I finally catch up to you, I toss the gun aside and grab my sidearm. I'm not going to sit there and hold it up to you and start talking for a while. That moment is past. I'm trying to kill you now. So as soon as I pull out my sidearm, I'm putting a bullet in your head, and this is done. They don't do that because the reason they don't do that is because Jessica would die and the movie would be over.
Exactly.
And so, but they keep putting her in positions where she has to die. And the way to get her out is to have the characters be stupid or bad at their job. And the amount of plot armor she has is pretty effective, because no bad guy's going to hurt her. I mean, they're going to hurt her a little bit, but they're not going to kill her, certainly. Spoiler alert, but you'll figure that out 10 minutes in. But yeah, it's just, they didn't, as good as it looks and as well shot as it looks, they did not think a bunch of things through enough. They thought it through in that we need to keep her alive, but the way they kept her alive was a bit unrealistic, and after a while it got to be ridiculous to where that was where a lot of the enjoyment came from. Like,
I didn't even think,
let's see how she's gonna get out of it this time.
Yeah, I didn't even use logic watching Hunting Jessica Brok. I just had a really great time. 134 minutes. A reason why it's long and drawn out is a lot of the movie, at least the second half of the movie, deals with these different mercenaries hunting Jessica Brok, and it's how one by one each of them try to get the better of her. But then, like Eric said, it's not called, the title is not called Jessica Brok is Dead. It's Hunting Jessica Brok. Will they catch her or not? And it's very, very well done. The ending where she's trying to save her daughter from the warlord and his men and his wife as well. His wife is pretty good in this movie. She's even tougher than a lot of the mercenaries. Some really colorful characters. At the top of the list is Richard Lukunku as the main guy, Lazar. It's a very operatic and over-the-top performance. Really loved him. Danica Jones, just great as the lead. You can tell every single second she's just busting her you-know-what to get the scene right and to work through the scene. I can't imagine the injuries or the physical exertion that she and the crew had to sustain during the production of Hunting Jessica Brok. I just thought this is an ambitious, fun movie. When you're at the end of the movie, make sure, as credits roll, you stay through the credits for about a couple of minutes. There might be a little bit of a surprise. And I don't know, I don't think there will be a sequel, but I even asked Danica Jones at the end, is there going to be a sequel for Hunting Jessica Brok? And she said, I'm ready. But there's a really cool moment at the end where it's fun. So check out the end credits for Hunting Jessica Brok. And there's actually a dramatic moment regarding a dog tag, a couple of dog tags, which is really well done dramatically. So my rating for Hunting Jessica Brok, I thoroughly love this movie. Like Eric, I told Eric it's a banger, so I'm going to give it a banger rating. 4.5 stars for me for Hunting Jessica Brok. Love this movie so much. So what about you, Eric?
I'll go 2.5 on this. Yeah. Like there was a lot of good in it, they really need to tighten up that script, or if the maybe the script was tight and the director was messing with it while they were shooting it, don't do that. But there's just a lot of my enjoyment of this movie came from laughing at the absurdity of what was going on screen. And
Wow, yeah.
And the disappointing thing is that it looked really good. The scenes were shot, even like the obvious CGI stuff didn't look so obvious, like it, because it's low budget, so there's stuff gonna happen. But like that Jeep crash, the guy was behind it and it rolled over, like that part looked real good. There's a lot of good in this. It's just some of the choices the characters make and some of the stuff they do and the Deus Ex Machinas of it all, and the plot armor got to be distractingly bad, but also that's what I was laughing at and enjoying watching it. But
in total disagreement. In total disagreement. Yeah,
that's the difference between that's the difference between laughing at a movie and laughing with it. I don't think he was doing that on purpose. I think that was somewhat incompetence. But anyway,
again, to each his own. But knowing, in my opinion, no incompetence for me. I was not laughing at or laughing with the movie. Just had a great time, and also the laughing stuff. There is some humor in the movie because of some of the over the top characters, but overall, just a really great film. 134 minutes. What?
The guy that on the motorcycle, when the other people caught up to us, oh yeah, she got him. Go, she's over that way. Okay, and then meanwhile they're still detecting the scene. Ooh, this wasn't the motorcycle accident. This was cut. Like, who cares? She's gone. So go find her. You literally just told the person where she is. Yeah.
It's 9-day review. Eric didn't like it. Doesn't recommend it. 2.5 for me. I thoroughly recommend it.
I recommend it. I'm just saying.
2.5. I mean, 2.5 is below 3. I think 3 stars are recommend, right? But 2.5.
No,
okay.
It's 2.5 because it's incompetent, but it's still recommend.
You're gonna recommend it at 2.5 stars? Really think
so? just know you're gonna enjoy it because it's incompetent, not because it's.
Yeah, I think for me, and I guess to each his own on that. Anything less than 3 stars for me is a total not recommend. But I guess it's a recommend.
What was that shark movie? The Underground Shark, whatever. I think I gave that once. No, it was the Japanese. I think it was Japanese movie.
Oh right. You saw that. I forgot what it was called. You gave it a and you gave it a 1-star banger, and you recommended it or something.
Yeah, see, that was a 1-star, but also watch it because it's insane.
All right, again, 2.5 from Eric.
Like Bathhouse Sharks or something like that.
Yeah, 2.5 stars from Eric, 4.5 stars from me. I really hope some cinematics people actually see this and vote and figure out what camp they land on regarding this action thriller. Really, really awesome movie, but not according to Eric, but he still had fun a little bit. In theaters, February 13th. Next up is By Design. It's a movie starring Juliette Lewis. Upon seeing a gorgeous chair in a showroom, Camille, played by Juliette Lewis, realizes that she really likes this piece of furniture. If only she could be that chair. And then ultimately, I guess what happens is she and the chair swap, or she becomes a chair. What the heck is going on? All I know is this movie stars Samantha Mathis and Robin Tunney as the best friends of Camille. Again, Camille is played by Juliette Lewis. So it has some really good actresses in this. It's narrated by Melanie Griffith. The movie is from director Amanda Kramer, who I think several years ago, Please Baby Please, me, Eric, and Bruce all fawned over that movie. This film about a woman who turns into a chair, I'm assuming. It feels like a very weird film, very surreal. It's considered an absurdist spin on the body swap comedy. Eric, is this movie a miss or a go see for you?
So where the Hunting Jessica Brok was, I gave it a low score, but I said go see it. This one's probably gonna be one of those I give a high score. It's like, hey, you might not want to see it, but this is a very strange week. But yeah, Juliette Lewis, she kind of body swaps into a chair. She's like insanely in love with this chair for some reason, and so are other people. I don't know, like the interactions between the humans is very strange in this movie. It almost feels like a Stranger David Lynch movie. Like when people start talking, it was like the way they're stilted when they talk to each other, and the stuff they say to each other doesn't make sense, but it doesn't like a dream logic sort of way. That's where we're at here. And at one point and at some point Juliette Lewis swaps with the chair. So she's at home and she's just like laying there, and people will come and talk to her, but she doesn't respond, but they still talk to her as if she's responding to them or interacting with them. And meanwhile, the chair's out and about. A guy brings it to a party and sits on the chair, and everyone's just absolutely enamored with his chair, as if the chair's the life of the party almost. At one point, Udo Kier comes in, his character comes in. He's the guy that created the chair. Because I do not recognize this chair, and so he wants to take the chair back with him and figure out like what's going on. Clifton Collins Jr. shows up. He's like a stalker that's been stalking Juliette Lewis, and he comes in the room. But this is while Juliette Lewis is Juliette Lewis, but she's got the soul of a chair, so she's not moving. And Clifton Collins Jr. drags her out to the balcony and tries to rape her through interpretive tap dance, and then ends up
What?
He ends up falling off.
That's not a spoiler, right? That's not a spoiler, right? Because
no, he's in the movie for 5 seconds. Okay. But yeah, this is one of those this movie's like a dream. You have a dream, and while you're dreaming it makes total sense. And as soon as you try to describe it to someone, you realize how stupid everything sounds. Like this does not make any sense at all. But the movie's, it's weird because the stuff I'm describing doesn't make sense even now that I'm saying it. Yet I was watching the movie just kind of leaning forward going, what other weird crap's going to happen? Oh, cool. We're doing this now. And yeah, I would say it's worth watching, but if you're not into like super, super weird stuff, like David Lynch, Quentin Dupieux, that kind of thing, if you're not into that, this is not going to be your jam.
But is it ultimately a satisfying watch at the end? Does it explain things or just completely stays pretty surreal?
No, this rides the line between asinine and absurdity, pretty much like right down the middle. So like even all the weird stuff isn't, it's like a absurdist comedy. Like all the weird stuff that happens in a Quentin Dupieux movie, they don't really explain it. They just show the absurdity and just kind of roll with it, and you either go with it or you don't.
Okay. And wow. Did you feel like so it wasn't a waste of time for you? It was good enough.
I mean, the movie starts off pretty absurd, like almost right off the bat. So if you're 10 minutes into this movie, you'll be able to figure out pretty quickly if this is something you want to keep watching or not.
Okay. What is your rating on By Design?
I liked it. This movie was crazy, and it was crazy by design, and I liked it. 4 stars.
4 stars from Eric Holmes. Wow. So it was just really well done then, this movie. It makes you want to watch more Amanda Kramer. So she's still on that same level for you after watching By Design.
I still Please Baby Please much better, but this one's just weird enough that kept me going. Plus Clifton Collins Jr.'s in it. I don't know anything Clifton Collins Jr.'s in.
We love Clifton Collins Jr. He was
hacking Stone Age. Ever since then, he got a free pass on everything.
So By Design, wow. Thank you, Eric Holmes. I was thinking that Bruce Purkey just started watching this movie, and eventually I was going to get to it, and I apologize, Eric, again, for not getting to this movie. But By Design, this is interesting. It's a absurdist movie, and Eric liked it. This is from Music Box Films. I'm looking at it right now. Opens in theaters nationwide starting Friday, February 13th. Again, Eric gave By Design 4 stars. Next up is a movie called Sweetness. This is a very interesting movie from an indie filmmaker who I think is going to be very, hopefully big in several years if she has momentum from Sweetness. I feel that she is very talented and she does a very good job with this drama/thriller. It centers on this young girl, Riley, played by Kate Hallett. She is a teenager who is ostracized from her school. She's the outsider. She has only one friend, and her friend is played by actress Aya Furukawa. And this best friend is possibly Riley's only source of comfort, along with Riley's own obsession over a rock star idol whom she idolizes. She loves his lyrics, and she feels very connected to this rock star idol. What happens is she gets into a concert with her best friend, and this rock star's playing. Supposedly he's kicked his addiction habit. He's on the straight and narrow right now. Everything's looking good, but that's on the surface. Deep down inside, he has relapsed. He is still addicted to drugs. This rock star is, and what happens is Riley bumps into him through a simple twist of fate, and because of this bumping into each other, Riley realizes that her idol is taking drugs, number one, and she, as his number one superfan, will do anything to make him go clean again. What will she do? Apparently, she's seen the movie Misery, because she ends up kidnapping him and locking him up in far away from where people can find him. And that's the premise of Sweetness. Will Riley get away with kidnapping this idol of hers? And is this idol worth the kidnapping? Does he really want to be kidnapped? I'm assuming not. Is he going to escape and gain the trust of Riley? You'll see. Can people actually sympathize with Riley's plight at kidnapping him? Maybe she made one mistake, and if there's a domino effect, so many things go wrong along this equation, possibly. Justin Chatwin also co-stars as her father, and he's a police officer. They don't really talk too much because there's a tragedy within the family, so a lot of that stuff's unspoken. It's seemingly a coming-of-age story meets Misery, meets a thriller, and there are some really shocking moments that writer-director Emma Higgins throws into the mix of this story, and she doesn't play it safe. I interviewed her recently, and she was talking about how they only had 18 days to shoot this movie, and they just went for it. And this is one of those movies that really goes for it in the execution of its plot. And there's some really great visual moments. There's a wonderful oneer at the end of the movie, which I'm not going to talk about what it pertains to, but it's a very pivotal part in Sweetness. And I love the way this movie actually wrapped up. It's a very gritty, cruel, unforgiving, and interesting and beautifully well done movie. Great performances all around, especially by Hallett as the lead, Kate Hallett as the lead. Again, written and directed by Emma Higgins. Sweetness is on digital and on demand, so no theater. This is one of these things which might get buried within this whole algorithm of movies coming out on a given week. And here at CinemAddicts, we're here to point you towards movies that are very interesting. And this is one of these movies. Yeah. And also, as a rock star, Herman Tomeras is very good as well. Some really tense moments, and it's a very good genre thriller with some excellent performances. My big surprise this week. I didn't love it as much as Hunting Jessica Brok with 4.5 stars, but I'm going to give Sweetness 4 stars. Really, really enjoyed Sweetness. Again, on digital and on demand, February 13th. We're closing this show with one more movie, and it is from filmmaker Jeremiah Kipp. The movie is The Mortuary Assistant. The movie is based on a popular and critically acclaimed video game of the same name, which was released in 2022. Filmmaker Jeremiah Kipp gives his cinematic adaptation of that video game, and it centers on this mortician played by Rebecca Owens. This mortician, Rebecca Owens, played by Willa Holland. And Willa Holland is very good in this movie. She's the lead. Rebecca Owens, she accepts a job at the mortuary. And the beginning of the movie, you see her trying to become the mortuary assistant and actually having the profession and skills to land this job. Once she lands the job, her boss, played by, I believe his name's Paul Sparks. That's the name of the actor. I'll look it up on IMDb. He gives her a job to say, hey, you're going to be here during the mornings, and that's how you're going to work. But then she said, hey, I'll be available at the night too. And he said, no, you're not going to work at night. Don't worry. You're going to be working in the day. What happens within, I think, minutes, something really crazy happens. And the rest of the movie, and actually most of the rest of the movie, takes place at night. It's a night shift type of movie, and it's directed by Jeremiah Kipp. Really well done film. Eric, what is your thoughts on this movie?
It was creepy. It made me want to got me interested in playing the game. And there was some bits in the movie that I just assumed they made up for the movie, but apparently those, like the old addiction angle that they had. I don't know if that's too much. You mentioned it in the interview, but there's a bit of an addiction angle there. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart that they put that in there. Turns out that's part of the game too. I was like, oh, I think I need to play this game because the movie's pretty good, and yeah, it just got me in there. All the sort of unreliable narrator stuff that happens was cool. I mean, it feels like a Jacob's Ladder sort of thing. I don't know if you got that as well, but.
And Jacob's Ladder, that's a reference, listeners. If you haven't seen this movie, it's a lot of the movie you're thinking it's going to be one thing and it ends up being another. And it's like Eric was saying, unreliable narrator or a different type of perspective than you're used to. And sometimes it'll flip it on its head. So
yeah, I think kind of like Slapface is like, it's sort of the movie you think it is, but then there's just enough in there to add that little extra that pushes it beyond a little bit beyond what you're expecting.
Yeah. So you really liked it?
I did, yes.
Okay, so let me talk about this movie. This is a great movie by Jeremiah Kipp, and what makes it work for me is the pretty much a tour de force performance by Willa Holland as Rebecca Owens. There are a lot of situations. Okay, so they're in a mortuary and there's cadavers. Because there might be things that happen that might not be realistic, obviously these cadavers will supposedly come alive. Possibly. All right. So and sometimes it's up to the viewer's perspective on whether they think what's happening is real or not. Because Eric was mentioning there might be something with a drug addiction. We won't mention the other layer. The other layer is a spoiler, a big spoiler, but it's not a spoiler if you play the game, right? It's not a spoiler to the millions of people who've played the game because that's the plot crux of the video game. That's the propulsive narrative. But we'll just say this. We can actually say this because this is, Eric, a plot summary is here. It says a mortuary science graduate who takes a night job at Rivers Fields Mortuary. What begins as a routine job soon turns sinister as she faces terrifying supernatural forces. So okay. IMDb says she faces terrifying supernatural forces. There's actually a plot summary from the distributor that specifically talks about what those supernatural forces are, which is fine. And I haven't listened to Bruce's full.
I think we could say because if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the main gameplay mechanics within the game.
Okay, so yeah, you can mention what is the main mechanic, Eric, in the game.
So she's going through these dead bodies, but some of the dead bodies are like possessed or.
There is a demon element to the mortuary assistant. Actually, a huge demon element.
But then she can't just find the demon body. She's got to find like the specific demon body. Kind of like with
that's explained probably the rest of the game. That's probably explaining the rest of the game. Probably don't you think that's a big part of it? Or
no, that's what she has to do. It's like in Lost Boys. It's okay. We know there's vampires. How do we get rid of them? We gotta kill the head vampire. So now they're trying to figure out who the head vampire is. So with this, there's the dead bodies, and then the some of them are demons. But she's got to get she's got to find the right demon, and then she does that by she gets that.
And then that's probably
she's got to find the demon's name or whatever.
I don't know. I think that just okay. All right, that probably explains the whole part of the second half, don't you think? That's the whole mechanic of it.
What her mission? That's what she's got to do. That's her mission.
But you don't know what her mission is because at the first half you're still figuring out the addiction part until the second half. He tells her boss tells her what's going on, and then
I mean that part would
that's 40 minutes. That's 40 minutes in. That's 40 minutes in when you get the goal. I mean, all right, I guess. Okay, so she has to find a cadaver which has possibly a possessed situation, and then I guess we don't have to talk about spoilers then. And then she just has to find the demon in the body, I guess, and that's the rest of the mortuary assistant.
Well, the spoilers would be like all the stuff that happens after that, and then
okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Is disturbing? Okay. Oh, actually, look here. As disturbing events escalate, Rebecca uncovers demonic rituals, the dark secrets of her enigmatic mentor, and her own buried trauma, racing to survive the night before her body becomes a vessel for possession. I guess they basically. You're right, Eric. They say basically everything. I guess the mission is Rebecca has to find the demon and And one of the things I don't want to talk about how she. Do you want to talk about how she does the demon stuff or the
I mean,
equation?
it's that wooden thing. I mean, there's not much to it really.
All right. Okay.
Because she's got a, yeah. We don't have to be
Huh.
specific about it, but it's that wooden block thing with the little pogs, I guess they are.
Yeah, they're like pogs, and then yeah, I guess that yeah, and then so basically she's looking for demon in the mortuary, and then also she's had past drug addiction, and she's had past trauma, and it's how she tries to work her way through that. And I haven't actually listened to Bruce's review to see how if he talks about all that other stuff, but that's a movie, and it's
I
really
think
good.
I
Go ahead.
think that drug addiction angle is a good addition to the story because it also adds the kind of confuses the unreliable narrator a bit.
Yes, it does. It does. It mixes it up.
Is this actually happening or is this because she's using again? Or it's hard to trust what she's seeing and if that's actually part of the story or if this is something else entirely.
And we have to also make sure also know that The Mortuary Assistant is actually a confusing movie because there's so, and I don't mean this is not a knock against the story or Jeremiah Kipp. It's confusing because you don't know, like Eric just said, is it the drug stuff? Are the demons actually there? Is it a figment of her imagination? Is she possessed by a demon and that's what is making her have these images of things that are happening to her? And then also, whatever your interpretation of the mortuary assistant is, that can be confusing. So it's a whole big gumbo pot of confusion, which is good. It makes you guessing left and
Mystery.
right. Yeah, it's a mystery. Yeah, it makes you guessing left and right until the inevitable. And I was going to say before we talked about spoilers and whatnot, or what I thought about spoilers, and Eric was thinking about spoilers. But yeah, I guess the plot summary gives it all away, I guess. So maybe I'm wrong in
Well,
this, but
not all of it, because the spoiler discussion would be what the talk they have at the end.
okay, yeah, we can talk about that towards the
Because
end.
there's a part where there's scenes where it's okay. This is because I mean the end itself is almost a double entendre, which is that goes back with the unreliable narrator. Is it real? Is it her drug addiction? Like the ending also plays with that too, where it's like a thing happens, but you can also take it depending on where your brain's at. You can take it in two directions.
That's very true. Yeah, this is a very interpretive horror thriller, which is, I think, one of the biggest strengths of the Mortuary Assistant. I think the huge, big strength, again, is Willa Holland because she has to play different emotions and possibly even different characters in the Mortuary Assistant. I always thought she was, I think she was in a movie, in a series called Arrow. Never saw that, but she was in that other movie that you and I reviewed a couple years ago. I think, what was it called? The something South. Was it the Dirty South that Willa Holland was in?
Yeah,
It was with yeah, that's what it was
yeah.
called with Dermot Mulroney. She was very good in that one, and she's good in this one. And Eric, you and I really love Slapface. I know Bruce liked it, but I
Yeah.
really love Slapface, and I really liked the Mortuary Assistant because the scares itself, some of the scares you see, you've probably seen it in so many different films, but the way it's contextualized in this movie, like Eric was saying, you have no idea what's going on, as opposed to a straight supposed scare. It's a linear situation. With the mortuary assistant, when something happens, you're going, okay, that is, I've seen that a million times before, but not in this context because you're still wondering what the heck is going on? What is this? Why did this cadaver just awake? Is this real or who's behind this? And so, like Eric was saying, it is a mystery, and the mystery part really works for me. This is also a rewatchable film that I really enjoyed, and I like the ending, which we're going to get to the spoilers as well. Just based on all of that stuff, the mortuary assistant, I was expecting excellence from Jeremiah Kipp again. I got it. Not as emotionally resonant to me as Slapface, since I'm a huge, huge fan of Slapface, but still a really well executed movie. Great job by Willa Holland. And I want to mention something, Eric. I love what Kip does with the visuals and the compositions. There is one specific small scene, and it's an indicative of a lot of stuff in the movie, where the character, Willa Holland's character, she drives into the parking lot, okay, of the mortuary house, right? Rebecca, that's the character's name. Rebecca drives, and usually a director will have some kind of shot of a car going into the parking lot, but the shot starts with the house, the actual mortuary house, the mortuary, right? That mortuary. The camera is trained on the house, and you see as different parts of that house of the mortuary for a couple of seconds, and then as the camera moves throughout the mortuary just for a couple of seconds, it goes to the window, and then you see the car coming into the parking lot. It's just a little minor touch, but it says so much stuff, and I really loved the way it was shot. So overall, my rating for the Mortuary Assistant, 4.5 stars. Eric, final thoughts, comments, and your rating.
Yeah, I'm thinking 3.5 on this, but I feel that it might bump up to a 4 once we talk about the end some more. Because you're right. Once you get to the end and once you kind of see everything that's going on, you kind of almost want to watch it again to see like all the not so much like any big twists or anything. I suppose there's a couple of those, but you want to watch it less for the twists and more for the metaphor that's being threaded through here.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
I'll just give it a 4. I think I'm at 3.5 now, but I just know that once I watch it again, it's gonna bump up a bit.
Okay.
In fact, I don't even need to watch it again. I know once we start talking about it and spoilers. What was that movie that we did was it last week or 2 weeks ago? That's why I hate number ratings, but like I gave it a number rating and we did the spoilers, and then as we're doing spoilers, I think it bumped it up to 6.9 or something like that. But yeah, Mortuary Assistant's good. I'm curious what people like fans of the video game think.
Yeah,
because I talked with Jeremy Kipp about that. It's like people are gonna think what they're gonna think, so nothing you can do about it. But as someone that didn't even know the video game existed, I thought it was really good. And
yeah, it's one of these things.
You always wonder, because like fans of something, like they might watch Mortuary Assistant and they'll be like, oh yeah, they nailed it. This is exactly the movie I wanted to watch from this video game. Or they might watch it and go, oh, you changed this or didn't do that or whatever, and then they hate it. So it's impossible to say. But
and I hate to say this also, maybe this is, I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, but it's a horror movie that's tastefully done. And what I mean by that is you're setting your movie in a mortuary. You could have had a lot more cheap scares with the bodies, and there are moments of that, but he could have overdone it, and he didn't.
This wasn't really that kind of movie though. Like that. This was more of they were going more for a mood or whatever.
Yeah, atmospheric type of.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Speaking though, even though it is atmospheric, there are some squeamish moments in this movie, and I won't mind to. If you don't like the look of certain people giving themselves stitches, what is it when they're stitching themselves up? I'm not going to say which character does it, but I got a little bit squeamish there. But there are some squeamish moments in the Mortuary Assistant. Of course, that's part of the genre. Again, 4 stars from Eric, 4.5 stars from me. The Mortuary Assistant, starring Willa Holland and directed by Jeremiah Kipp. And again, that actor, I forgot to give him some love. I think his name is Paul Sparks. I was a huge fan of him in Boardwalk Empire. Paul Sparks. He's really good in this with what he has to work with. And I will say this without giving too much away. There's a moment where Rebecca Owens, she's doing work on a cadaver, and then she plays music on a cassette player, or what is it? And you're wondering, why is she playing a cassette player in what do they used to call those as? Yeah, on a cassette player, and you're thinking this seems completely out of whack, but it's not, because it's dated for a reason, and you'll get to realize it when you uncover the mystery, because where she finds out more about the mortuary and what her plan is, or how she fixes herself into the equation, there's some really interesting uncovering in, I guess, I don't know if it's the basement but there's some really great old school methods of how she discovers what's going on in the Mortuary Assistant. Again, Eric and I will have a quick spoiler at the end of this episode, and we'll post it up on our YouTube channel about several days from now, but then Patreon members will get early access. I think that's it for this episode, Eric. You have anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, just got a couple interviews coming up. See about those. Some good movies coming up. And what else? Oh, I should briefly mention, not going to do a full, not going to do a thing and all on it, but after watching The Mortuary Assistant and talking to Jeremiah Camp, I did watch the new Silent Hill.
Mm.
It was
Not a good one, huh? Not a very good one.
It was almost as good as Mortuary Assistant.
By too much. It's so cool with your interview with Kip, and when he mentioned Phantasm, I totally want to see Phantasm again. I'm such a huge fan of Phantasm. Yeah.
But yeah, Return to Silent Hill starts off close to the video game and then starts adding stuff to it that didn't really help it out much. Not great. It was good background noise, I suppose. But yeah, if you're thinking of watching Return to Silent Hill, just watch Mortuary Assistant instead.
Okay, very good. That is it for CinemAddicts episode 331. We're done for this week. But before we're finished, there's some stuff from Bruce Perky that he has to review. He's going to give his take of The Mortuary Assistant, and then he's also going to review the Sam Rockwell film directed by Gore Verbinski. Good luck, have fun, don't die. Thanks again for supporting us for CinemAddicts, and of course, here's Bruce Perky over at The Cinematic.
Welcome to another Cinematic Attic of Cinema, the Attic of Cinema, where I discuss a few screeners that came to me this week via Greg and Eric, as well as maybe another recommendation or two, depending on the week I had of movie watching. This week, I have 3 movies for you. I almost had 4, but I haven't finished one of them, so I'll have to leave that for next week. But 3 movies, 2 screeners. One is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. A big movie for us to get for a screener, but maybe it's still considered weird enough that they're trying to get some early reviews out there. Also, the much-awaited video game adaptation, The Mortuary Assistant. And then I caught up with last year's Mike Flanagan flick, The Life of Chuck. All right, let's get right to it. The big sexy, as they would say on the film vault, is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die by Gore Verbinski. And I looked it up. I'm like, what? I haven't seen anything from Gore Verbinski lately. And I think it's true. He hasn't made a movie in about 10 years. And that movie is forgotten pretty much and not liked by a lot of people. That was A Cure for Wellness. I think a highly underrated movie. And Gore Verbinski in general is a weird story as far as directors go, because he's very, very successful. He's had a huge run with all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Unfortunately, he was kind of lost to those too, because I think he could have made a lot more interesting oddball movies if he hadn't had some early success with both the Ring remake, which I loved quite a bit, and then of course all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But in the middle of all that, he's done some really interesting things, and I think he had a possible future as much more of a niche director, but just became almost accidentally a huge success. I think I'm looking forward to the last act of his career if he will make movies a little more often. 10 years is a kind of a long gap, but I think he's making interesting and odd choices and surprisingly still getting budgets. I don't know how that's working. I don't know how they're still throwing money at him, but maybe just thought that they know he's a capable director and that maybe his movies could still make some money. Anyway, this movie I think probably got greenlit because it's a post Everything Everywhere All at Once movie. You can tell that studio execs probably saw this script and thought, ooh, we can have another one of those movies on our hands. Like after Tarantino, after Pulp Fiction, all these movies were being made that were being sold or marketed as kind of Pulp Fiction-esque movies. Now, I think this movie isn't really Everything Everywhere All at Once. I can see why it's getting lumped in there, but I think it has a whole bunch of different movies as inspirations, and it wears those inspirations on its sleeve. First of all, basic concept here, you've got your main characters are played by Sam. I didn't write all their names down of the actual character names, so I'll just say the actors' names. I think it's easier for us to latch on to anyway. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you're not going to remember the characters' names very much. But you've got Sam Rockwell as your main character. You've got Zazie Beetz in here. You've got Juno Temple. You've got Michael Pena. You've got Haley Lou Richardson. One you may not recognize her name. I've seen her in a few things. She does play a main character here named Ingrid. You'll find out later why she's... This movie, I'm going to describe the basic concept, and then after that, it's hard to describe the actual plot. And that's good because discovering the weirdness of the plot is a big part of the fun. It just starts out with a diner, Norm's Diner, a classic sort of a diner, somewhat. And this dude just comes jumping in, bursting into the diner. Sam Rockwell's character, he looks like he might be unhoused. He's disheveled, bearded, his hair's all crazy. He's got like this clear raincoat on, and strapped around his chest looks to be a bomb. And he has a trigger thing held in his hand, like a button. And everyone's freaked out when he comes in there, and they think, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Is he out of his mind? What's up this guy? And he immediately tells them that he's from the future and that he is here to save the world from a threat in the future. And then he goes on to say he's been here 117 times, and each time has failed. And he has to choose from the, 35 people in this diner, the proper team, because every time he's chosen a team before, it hasn't worked. So he wants to get just the right combination of people to successfully save the future. And that is kind of your basic concept. And as you can see, you can already see some possible, inspirations from other movies. Like you obviously see there's a little bit of Brazil here and the way he looks, and coming back to solve the future, coming from the future to solve the problems in the future. It's got a little bit of a time loop of movie going on, which I was very happy though. And I'm okay with time loop movies. They tend to be pretty good, weirdly, even though they're overplayed. It seems like if you're looking at the pantheon of time loop movies versus the pantheon of alternate reality, alternate timeline movies, I think that the time loop movies have had a better history and track record. What is cool about this version of a time loop movie is you're only in one of the loops. You understand from our main character, he's gone through this before, and he might give you hints of things that have worked or not worked in the past. And the way he acts, you can tell he's experienced some of these things before and he knows what's going to happen. But generally, you're just staying in this time loop and you're on this path. Now, along with that inspiration of kind of time loop movies, Brazil, you've got a little bit of Terminator in here. You've got, what else did I write down? I wrote a few different things that it's based on. Oh, there's a feel like Big Trouble in Little China, where it's a little bit all over the place and very odd, but also just fun, not taking itself too seriously. It's even less heady than Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think the ideas in Everything Everywhere All at Once was much more like a little bit mind-bendy. This one isn't very mind-bendy overall. It's a little more, I guess some of the issues and some of the things it brings up are on the nose, which could be a problem to some degree. It's not as smart as it thinks it is a deal. But I think if you let that go, it wants to take you on a fun ride with some odd moments. Also, it's got a little bit of Black Mirror. Now, why do I say Black Mirror? Black Mirror is all about near future technology and how it's messing up our lives. And it's all these little stories. And I thought for a minute that this show was going to end up being an anthology because he gathers his group, as you might guess. I'm not going to tell you who he picks, but that the process is very entertaining. He gathers his group, and as the adventure starts, their journey, there's a place they're trying to get to. And as that journey starts, you will see like a title screen of one of the characters' names, and then you'll do a flashback to maybe 10 minutes of something crazy in their life involving some near future technology and how that has led them to be at the diner and where their context is. And I thought, oh, this is essentially going to be an anthology movie. We're going to do this for all the characters, and the journey itself is only going to be a connective tissue. And I was a little worried because, that would have been okay. It did that for a couple of the characters. But then I was surprised that it only did that a little bit. And then the main story really was still the journey and the adventure of the characters following our Sam Rockwell character on the journey that he mentioned, the way that we're going to try to save the world. So it's, like I said, it's a little all over the place in that sense because you've got these little mini stories. Now, I will say the mini stories are definitely a satire on modern technological society And some of that stuff is what I was talking about, where it feels really on the nose. Like one little subplot, and doesn't really mention anything, but something about how cell phones are literally turning like teenagers into cell phone zombies. Okay, I get it, whatever. But they do play with that idea in a fun and interesting way, and it does tie into the overall thing, which I'll just mention the overall evil, the big bad is AI. And once again, oh no, not another movie where AI is the bad guy. Even that is done in an entertaining way and in a way that isn't like overly preachy about AI. It's just a thing. So there are a lot of things like that where I thought I was going to really roll my eyes, but as it went, it didn't matter as much as just the fun characters and the story itself. Now I will say one of the little flashbacks does involve, I don't want to reveal this one because it's pretty entertaining. It involves a dark reality of modern society in a very Black Mirror-esque way. And that particular sub-story does work really, really well, and actually ends up tying into the final story as well, because there's something that the main character gets, something about her child that plays in and becomes a big deal. So once again, how do you overall rate this movie? If you're down for the fun and the creative world that it presents to you, then I think you'll really enjoy this movie quite a bit. I think it's overall really satisfying. It's really fun on the journey, and that's kind of your big things in these kind of movies, right? Do you like the characters? Is it a fun journey? Does it have a satisfying ending? I would say it does. Although some people might be a little disappointed by the ending they get. That's kind of part of the point. And I don't think it, like I said, it doesn't play the satire part too heavy. So that's going to be your biggest plus or minus on this movie. If you go in thinking, I want some really hard, biting, cutting satire about modern society, I think you might think this is a little light version of that, and it might be a little disappointing to you. And I started out with my foot in that camp, but it won me over, and I just let that go and enjoyed the overall ride. For me, I'm going to get into a few spoilers here in a second, because like I said, a lot of this movie you can't really get into without spoiling some fun, weird things. For me, I'm going to go 4.5 stars for good luck, have fun, don't die. I had a great time watching it. I think people who are in the mindset for this sort of movie anyway, who really like I said before, Hitchhiker's Guide. Oh, it even has a Toy Story homage, which I quite enjoyed and was unexpected. But if you like Brazil and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and all that kind of stuff, almost old school fantasy sci-fi to some degree, I think you could quite enjoy this movie. Oh, what do you say Miracle Mile? That's another one that might even have a little bit of Miracle Mile here. Love Miracle Mile. Okay, 4.5 stars for good luck, have fun, don't die. I can never get the order right. It'll take me a while. All right, next up, The Mortuary Assistant, directed by Jeremiah Kipp, a great movie lover and filmmaker of his own right. He is out there in the social medias. He's always engaging with the people, has engaged with us in the past over his film Slapface, which is also really good. He is one of those filmmakers that you get a few of these that feel like they genuinely just love making movies. And even if they don't get the hugest budgets, they're not getting thrown the 30, 40, 50, $100 million budgets for movies. The movie budgets they get, you feel like they're really using it to make the best movie they can with that budget. So the one thing about The Mortuary Assistant that I was not aware of before going into it was that it's based on a relatively popular video game, which I have not seen at all. Now, there's a period where I was really tied into some of these indie horror video games and watching all the playthroughs and all that stuff, playing some of them, but not during the time The Mortuary Assistant existed. So I was not familiar with the gameplay, the story of it, the look of it, or anything. After the fact, I went back and looked at some of it. And from what I see, this looks like it recreates that world pretty darn well. So I think it's going to be interesting in the next few days, if you're interested in this movie, checking out reviews of people who have played the game versus people who have not played the game. I'm guessing just off the bat that people who have played the game are probably really happy with this adaptation, because I feel like from my point of view, it looks like it really captures the mood and the look and kind of the overall story of the video game, which is a big problem for video game movies. There's always that kind of combination of when you make a video game adaptation into a movie, how do you keep the essence of the game, but also make a movie that works as a movie? And usually they go all the way into the movie, and the game part of it is just a hazy inspiration that doesn't really bear much resemblance to the actual game. I think one of the better horror video game adaptations is the original Silent Hill. And you could look at that and go, as a movie, it works okay. It's scary and creepy, and the visuals are amazing, but that kind of doesn't make much sense as a story. But that's because it's based on a video game. So I think it's one of those that people love as an adaptation, but maybe as a movie itself, it's in between as far as like how well it works. And I think that Mortuary Assistant is somewhere in that category too. And I mean that in a good way, in that, like I said before, if you like the look and the feel and the creepiness of that game, the Mortuary Assistant, I think this is going to capture it for you or recapture it for you. Now, the hard part is, where do you come in as an outside film watcher or just a straight horror movie fan or just a movie fan in general? Like, how do you deal with the Mortuary Assistant? I would say it's about 80% successful, and there's a few things that draw me out of it just a little bit. Okay, so basic concept is you've got your main character, Rebecca. It's almost a two-hander, almost a one-hander. Rebecca is the titular mortuary assistant, played by Willa Holland. And then you got Raymond, played by Paul Sparks. And he's like the head of the mortuary. He's the, I don't know what you'd call him, the owner or whatever. And at the beginning of the movie, he's just finishing some of her training, and she's wiring this mouth shut. And there's this filming style, which is kind of cool. Throughout the movie, it'll resort to these things where it's almost this ultra macro photography, where it's so close, and often it's really, really close to something gross or unsettling, which is cool. And I haven't quite seen that very much in horror movies. I really liked that kind of technique. And it does it at the beginning when they're like wiring the corpse's mouth shut, and you're just right in there, and it's really uncomfortable and really, really effective. Anyway, they're just finishing their initial training, and right out of the bat, he's saying, you can start coming and working and doing your job here. And you're not going to be coming during the day. I'll have someone else here doing stuff at night, probably myself, but you don't want to come. I'm not having you here at night. And of course, immediately she ends up having to be there at night, and then crazy, creepy things start happening. And once again, that is another big plus to this movie. So a lot of indie horror movies, you will, right out of the bat, it just kind of has a very slow burn. A lot of times they don't have maybe a lot of budget for the scary stuff or the effects or whatever it's going to be that's going to be the payoff. So they'll just slow burn you very, very gently until maybe the final third of the movie, and then it'll finally get going. This movie just really gets going like pretty much right out of the gate and just keeps going straight on through. Now, this kind of is the plus and the negative coming forward here. The plot is a little bit convoluted as far as, okay, it's a combo. It's easy as far as the basic idea. She is just going to the mortuary, doing her job, sometimes at night, and weird things start happening. I guess that would be your basic plot of this movie. But where it gets more convoluted is she starts having problems with visions and memories of a disturbing event in her past. She starts seeing disturbing things happening, of course, in the mortuary. And in a lesser movie of this sort, it would all be in her mind. It would all be illusion. But here, it's more let's just say the evil forces or whatever evil is lurking around that mortuary is causing her to see certain things that may or may not be fully there. But even if they aren't fully there, it's not going to be just one of those, it was just a dream kind of movies, because I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you one example. So there's an example where she sees something terrible and horrifying, and she tries to defend herself by attacking it with a scalpel. That vision ends up being not actually there, but whatever evil force was there making her think that was making her stab the evil thing. And what she was actually doing was just hacking the heck out of her leg with the scalpel. So there's like grossness in the actual like vision, and then there's grossness in the actual occurrence that occurred to her body. So it's almost like a double whammy there. So overall, I mean, there's a lot of good, creepy, somewhat gory sequences throughout this movie that I think will keep most horror fans pretty entertained. The biggest negative I would have, if there's any really big negative, is other than Digital Fire. I'm not a fan of Digital Fire. And I know you have a low budget, but yeah, just find a way to do actual fire. Digital Fire, Digital Breath, Digital Blood are big, not happy things for me to watch. It's a gripe. It's like a nitpick on my part. The other thing was the score was generic, and I feel like, oh man, with the perfect, cool, weirdo score, kind of like think of something like the Carpenter movies where he had such a low budget, but he made such iconic scores with so little resources. I feel like this movie could just soar with a better score. It's very rhymey. Soar with a better score. All that aside, those are small nitpicks. The biggest problem I had overall with it was the rules of the game I did not quite understand. And let's just say throughout this movie, there is a certain threat that you're faced with, a supernatural threat, obviously. And she is presented with a way to defeat that threat or to attack that threat. And that's the part where you can tell it's definitely video gamey, because you can see that there's things you must achieve and things you must do to kill the creature. You can definitely feel, even if you don't know the game, you can feel like, oh, that's video game stuff right there. But I didn't play the game, so for me, even though the rules were given to me, I was a little bit lost. Wait, what are we doing here? Like, why is she holding up burning paper, and what are the symbols doing exactly? And I got a little lost there. I still went with, I knew she has to get those things to kill the thing, but I didn't quite understand it exactly either. And once again, that could just be me as not a game player, not knowing the parts of that game, but I feel like I could have understood it a little more clearly. Okay, I've jibber-jabbered enough about the movie. So overall, positive on The Mortuary Assistant. I think, like I said, if it had maybe pulled a little bit back from the video game quality of it slightly, and a little more just straight ahead horror movie, mix the two a little bit more, a little less video game, a little more horror movie, I might have been a little stronger on it. I think I'll go 3.5 out of 5 stars on it. It's definitely positive, definitely solid. I think if you're not a horror fan or a video game fan, you probably will go down a little bit. If you're just not a horror fan, this is probably not for you. If you're a horror fan, you might be a little higher than me, or if you're the video game fan, you might be way higher than me. You might think this is like one of the best adaptations you've seen. Either way, I think it's a solid watch. It's got some strong, unsettling, not overboard gore, but just, like I said, super in-your-face gore, where you're just like right down in there with the microscopic eye view, and I really enjoyed that. The lead was really good. She really had to hold it down. I liked her quite a bit. So overall, yeah, really strong on The Mortuary Assistant, 3.5 stars. Okay, last movie I have is Life of Chuck, The Life of Chuck. I caught up with this partially because in some of the year-end lists, I saw it pop up, and I remembered it vaguely coming up during out the year, and every so often someone would mention it, they loved it, but I never really had a feel for what it is, and I think that might be one of the biggest problems for The Life of Chuck. I think it's one of those where you just see the poster, you hear the name, and you just really don't know what it is. I think a lot of people probably just think it's, is this just a feel-good, I don't know, like life of a person kind of movie? And in some ways it is, but there's a whole, okay, how would I describe this in short terms? First of all, I didn't know to the very end that it was based on a Stephen King short story. Now, it's directed by Mike Flanagan, so I should know that it was based on a Stephen King short story. But this is more the Stephen King of The Green Mile and Shawshank Stephen King. This is not the straight-up horror Pet Sematary Stephen King. So it's more humanity and stuff with just slight fantastical edges to it. But the best way I would describe The Life of Chuck to someone just from the outside that might make them go, oh, that's different than I thought it was, is I would say it's probably the most heartfelt, sentimental, but earned sentimentality apocalypse movie you've ever seen. And that would be my pitch. So if you heard that and you're like, what? That sounds weird. Then I would say just go in blind and watch it, because even with the review I'm going to give here, which I'm going to give some spoilers at the end, but even the early part is going to give you some spoilers, because the concept alone is going to be a surprise. And it was to me, and I was happy it was to me. I literally knew nothing about it except it had some dance sequences in it. And I was like, okay, it obviously is a movie where the dance sequences are out of place, and that makes me interested because, maybe it's sort of a musical. I don't know what this movie is. So if you know that it's a sentimental, kind of feel-good-ish apocalypse movie with some great, great moments, then I say go in blind and just enjoy it. I would highly recommend it to most people right out of the gate. That's just my thumbnail version. Now I'll give you a little bit more of a pretty much non-spoiler version of the basic idea of it, and that is movie in 3 acts, out of order chronologically, so that you're basically starting with the final act and you're working to the middle act of Chuck's life, and then you're going to go to the opening act of Chuck's life. So that by the time you get to the end of the movie, a lot of the things you've seen throughout the movie up to that point are all getting filled in. Like all the gaps are getting filled in, all the context is getting filled in, so that all those things that you saw earlier on that might have seemed like random moments, just to be random moments, aren't. They're all based on the things that have piled up in Chuck's life. And that's the best kind of these stories, where you just, all those things just add to the experience and add to the emotion and add to the character, which just is very, very fulfilling. But at the beginning of the movie, the world, in some degree, seems to be coming to an end. You start actually not with Tom Hiddleston. I didn't mention the cast. Tom Hiddleston is your Chuck as an adult. You got Chiwetel Ejiofor, you've got Karen Gillan, got Mia Sara, you've got Mark Hamill, you've got Matthew Lillard, and a whole bunch of other people. It's a really amazing cast. But at the very beginning, you're just starting out with a Chiwetel Ejiofor character, and he's this teacher in a school. And from all the context clues, news reports, what's happening in the world, you discover very quickly that the world's social structure is essentially falling apart. Like areas of California there's been some huge earthquakes, and areas of California have just been inundated and basically fallen off into the sea. Kind of that classic thing, right? The whole chunk of California has fallen off into the sea. There are sinkholes opening up. The internet is intermittent, if not being lost. People, of course, are just walking away from their jobs. His ex, played by Karen Gillan, she is working in a hospital, and they're starting to call themselves the Suicide Squad because the world is falling apart so badly that so many people are just giving up. People are just wandering away from their jobs, even at the hospital. People just wandering away because what do they care? It's like the end times are here. And that's the whole context of that first chapter. And within that world, our main characters are noticing all over town like billboards. Thanks, Chuck, for 39 great years. Kind of like you'd see like at a office, like retirement party for someone, and they see Chuck, and Chuck it's a picture of Tom Hiddleston. It's like, he looks like he is an accountant. And your characters start to notice this. Everyone starts to know, who is Chuck? They're seeing like billboards and banners and ads popping up on TV, even though the TVs are all starting to show like the test patterns. They're starting to all fail. Who is this Chuck dude, and why is he showing up everywhere? It's like a mystical event is occurring around this Chuck guy, and we don't know who Chuck is. So that's your whole first act, is essentially this basically two main characters in that first act, which is the Chiwetel Ejiofor character and Karen Gillan, exes who used to be together, drawing back together as the end of the world is approaching. And in all of that, there is this weird mystery of this Chuck character. And then I'm not going to really tell you much about the second and third acts, other than to say the second act is going to be all about Chuck in the current, close to present day in the movie, right before the end times. And it involves a amazing dance number with Tom Hiddleston and some other characters. And it's just beautiful. There's a lot of voiceover by, oh my gosh, I forgot his name now. Oh my gosh, everyone knows him. It's going to be maddening. Sorry, guys. You can insert, Greg, if you look it up, you can insert here who the voiceover is done by. But he's the main character in Sovereign, which is also not going to help anybody, but whatever. He was in Parks and Recreation. Everyone knows this guy. Mustache, yes. He was in Killed by Lightning recently. Oh my gosh. Anyway, there's a lot of voiceover here. Once again, it can be a crutch. I don't care. It works in this situation. The middle act, of course, like I said, is the almost current day version of Tom Hiddleston's character, Chuck, and just the awesomeness of what happens there. And then the biggest chunk of the movie is that final chunk, and that is the childhood version of Chuck. And that's where you have a whole bunch of context to everything you've seen before. Once again, I could see some people rolling their eyes and being like, this is just too schmaltzy, it's too sentimental. And I am very much one to do that when it doesn't hit me right. But I feel like this one earns what it gives you. And I think its heart's in the right place. And it isn't trying to be cloying. And I don't think it ends up being cloying. And it isn't trying to be too quirky. It's just walking that knife edge of tone. And I think it's just giving you one of those kind of visions of the world through a compassionate eye, and like the life of one character and kind of the importance it has on so many people that's paths they cross throughout their life. It's one of those kind of feeling movies, and I think it works really, really well. I give it 5 stars. I think I was maybe just in the right place at the right time, but I think this is an easy recommend to just about anybody. Even your almost the most cynical, hardened hearts out there, and I can be one of those. If you have those kind of people in your life, I think they still might even like this movie. So it's a 5-star for me, Life of Chuck. I can't praise it enough, The Life of Chuck. If you have not seen it, check it out. I believe currently it is on Hulu. This is one of those I think is worth the buy as well. If you had a physical copy of it, it's not a bad choice. All right, I'm done for the week. You have some good choices. No bad movies this week. It's really just a matter of what style and story you are looking for, but there are some good movies to check out. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Oh, and guys,